Okay, perfect. So, hello everybody. Super happy to be in this call with all of you. I'm Jonathan. I'm one of the two founder of Suprism, which is a company acquired by Audiense some months ago. And now I'm super happy to pursue this project of democratizing audience insights alongside the audience team. Okay, so we will cover during this presentation two main points. The first point will be a bit more educational and more dedicated to explain how audience intelligence can support the music professional. It will be the second part, and the first part will be about, okay, what is audience intelligence and how audience today is providing solution in this area. Okay, so quick intro about Audiense. Audiense has been founded more than 10 years ago. This is a London-based company with team located across Europe and offices in Spain and in Belgium, where I am personally located. We are growing fastly these last months, thanks to 60 super passionate and motivated collaborators. And Audiense has mentioned previously acquired Suprism, which is a company I co-founded. And now by joining our forces, we are reinforcing our place as leader in the audience intelligence area. That this is a new category existing into the G2 MarTech company ranking. Okay, so even if we are highlighting big logos in these slides, we are proudly serving more than 2,000 customers. That could be big, but also small company. Our vision is democratizing audience insights for any kind of organization and company. So we believe that today our mission is to bring audience intelligence at the center of strategy. So our goal is to provide audience insights, audience intelligence to empower audience strategy and marketing tactics by leveraging social data and connecting the dots. And we believe that there are three main trends in our fast-moving industry that are interconnected, and we do a special focus in Audiense on these three trends. The first one is transparency, because when we talk about data and specifically social data, it's important to be clear and transparent about how we are collecting the data, especially how we can also interpret this data and what are the limitations of this data. The second point is about interoperability, so how the ecosystem can work each other in order to be sure that we can move forward the entire industry to the next level. And the third trend is actionability, because at the end, when you are a platform of audience insights, the goal is to render possible the transformation of this data into insights and insights into concrete action that generates value for our customer. So yes, we are bringing audience understanding in this digital era, and this is something super important because we know that traditional market research have some limitation, and now with the digital era we can unlock a lot of new opportunities in terms of audience understanding. And we all know this example of putting in parallel two people who have some similarities in terms of demographic, but at the end we can imagine that they have completely different lifestyle. And what it makes sense and what count when we are talking about audience intelligence is especially to understand the cultural differences existing between any segment that compose an audience. This is one of the most important things. So what are the main passion points, the main values, the main concern, the main motivation, the level of affinity with everything that is around us, that could be brands, hobbies, media, or personalities. This is what we are doing today in an Audience with two proprietary platforms. So one platform is a digital intelligence platform, the platform of Suprism, and the second platform is a social intelligence platform. So these two platforms are really complementary, and the digital intelligence platform enabled to understand all the socio-demographic passion points about an audience based on what Meta, so ex-Facebook, knows about all the 2.5 billion active users active in its platform. So it's super powerful. We can extract what Meta knows about their audiences in an aggregated way, in a compliant way, with also the ability to insert our first-party data in order to understand how Meta qualified that audience composed by this first-party data. So this is one solution. The second solution existing into Audience is a social intelligence platform, typically that could be plugged with social listening tool in order to understand who are the audience, what are the main triggers of influence for this audience, what are the main segments and clusters that compose the audience we are analyzing. And these both solutions put together are offering a very strong and holistic understanding of audiences through different lens of analysis, with also the ability to be connected with the other digital platforms, for example, social listening, to know who are the people who are talking online. Or, as I mentioned previously, if you connect your database of CRM, you can, for example, understand how Meta knows these people and how Meta qualified these people. Also comparing declarative data with behavioral data. So the power today of audience intelligence with the evolution of technology and AI bring to a next level the ability to understand audience insights. And this is exactly what we are doing, bringing together multiple data sources with advanced methodologies and AI to provide insights to decision maker at scale. Just the last slide to summarize what's audience intelligence. So audience intelligence is the ability to gather from different multiple source of data, different type of data, to combine them, to add a layer of intelligence through algorithm, segmentation, AI, scoring, cleaning approach, relevant visualization capabilities. And the goal is to extract from this data plus intelligence to generate insights in order to identify what are the key patterns that describe that audience, what are the influencers around this audience, what are the affinity levels, what are the subsegment and persona that compose that audience. For at the end, the goal is to render possible to marketeers, brands, artists, label, to target better, identify the right messages, to know in what platform they have to play, and what are the new trends and opportunities that exist in the music industry in general. So now the educational part is behind us. We know, all of us, what is audience intelligence and where we are playing in that area. Let's now move to an example, to some concrete insights that describe how audience intelligence can support the strategies that music professionals should put in place when they want to firstly identify new opportunities, but also build a fan base, or also monitor the performance of their audiences. So let's move to the concrete example. Audience insights, it's really key, and we know that the music industry is faced with many challenges, but by having access to quantitative and qualitative audience insight, it will light firstly any decision before an artist promotion plan, for example, to define where is the potential audience and where to play. At this first stage, the main goal is to detect, by analyzing the music lover, where are the area of opportunities. So this is a preliminary approach of learning, and we will deep dive in this part to identify what are the main audience insights we can get from them. Secondly, audience insights could also generate a strong visibility of how we can activate an audience. And when we talk about activation of an audience, is building a promotion plan, a marketing plan to build an audience from scratch, or reinforce an audience which is already existing around an artist, for example, increase the attractiveness of the audience with the artist, and also to convert that audience in a certain way. So this is a critical, it's quite critical to have the right insights at that moment to succeed in building a marketing plan with the best tactics. And thirdly, audience insights will also allow to monitor how audience is evolving on time and what are the new opportunities in order to adapt the activation plan. So measurement will be directly linked to the activation plan in a loop in order to ongoingly ensure that we stay relevant in the way we are building an outperforming promotion plan. So first stage about detection. So how we can, for this first pillar, generate insights that could help us to identify new opportunities. So in this case that I will show you right now, the goal was to use the penetration of interests of audiences active on Meta for different music genres, and to identify for different countries how the penetration and how the music genre is overperforming for specific socio-demographic group and on specific countries, but also to identify what are the main communities and what are the type of music that perform better for some communities. So let's render that a bit more concrete. So the project was, we defined for this example 5 countries, but we can do that by using 100 countries. So this is just an example here. So we selected 5 countries: US, UK, Spain, Brazil, and Japan, plus the global population. We also identify 5 music genres. That could be also all the music genre, but for this example, we selected 5 ones: pop music, house, rap, K-pop, and reggaeton. And we use the data coming from Meta, so it was a digital intelligence platform of Audiense, in order to identify what music genres are overperforming for socio-demographic groups and communities. So this is the first type of insights we can get by benefiting the knowledge that Meta has about their audiences. So this chart is, for example, showing the percentage of the population in each country active on Meta interested in each of the 5 music genres. And for example, we can identify that some music genres are more appreciated in certain countries, such as rap, for example, in US is overperforming. And also, for example, K-pop in Japan. This is 2 music genres that are linked to this country and sounds quite logical for Japan and K-pop. So now the goal is to know what are the age range associated to each music genre. So we can see that, for example, for pop music in general is more appreciated by older people for any country. So this is the average age range. So pop music is more a type of music appreciated by older people. Rock music is more appreciated, for example, for young people in Japan. It's older, the average range is older in other countries, but in Japan, people interested in rap music are younger. For example, 5 years younger than people who enjoy rap in US, for example. And we can have exactly the same type of insights for reggaeton, where we can see that people who appreciated reggaeton in Spain are 5 years older than people who enjoy reggaeton in UK, for example. Another interesting point is, if we do exactly the same exercise by gender, we can also observe new insights that could help us to identify what are the target audience and music lover for a specific music genre in a country. So in this case, we are analyzing the same thing, but the percentage of penetration are linked only to women. So in this case, for example, we can observe then the K-pop music is strongly appreciated by women in Japan, for example. So this is mainly women who appreciated the K-pop. And for example, in Brazil, we can observe that the penetration of reggaeton in the woman genre is over-indexed a lot. So we have a big proportion of reggaeton lover in Brazil composed by women. Okay, so when we superpose, so when we add the different layers together, we can identify some interesting things. So, for example, we can identify clusters, and on the right side, we can see, for example, that pop music is enjoyed by all the women in US, for example. This is mainly this area. At the left area, we can see that K-pop and pop are more enjoyed by younger women, for example, in Japan. And just below, we can observe that we have rap and reggaeton are more appreciated by youngest men in US. And finally, if we want to do a focus on young people, but not the youngest, but young people who are more men, because we have the lower penetration of women in this axis, we can observe that house and rap are more appreciated by young men, for example, from Spain. So we can start to define in a very interesting way where to play, where we have a music genre, where we are a new artist, where we are a label, and we want to promote. We can start to identify what are the type of groups in the overall worldwide, for example, that we have to reach in order to foster a good receptivity of the style of music or the artist we are highlighting or promoting. So now same exercise, but the goal is to understand by community what type of music is more appreciated by country for a specific community. So, for example, if we want to know what type of music would be more appreciated for luxury resort audience, we can, in this case, observe that among the 5 top music that we have selected in this exercise, pop music is the best genre, for example, for any country. Another point interesting that we could highlight with another example, this is, for example, adrenaline lovers, the audience adrenaline lovers. For example, for adrenaline lovers, we can observe that house music is quite overperforming in all countries, but especially in Spain. So if we want to have alternative to house music, the second type of music genre, which is appreciated by the population in, for example, in Japan, for example, in Japan, we have also, or in UK, for example, we have also rap, which is quite appreciated also in US and in UK. So it could be also interesting when we are when we have as objective, for example, to reach a specific community or a specific environment, we can understand by using how Meta qualify their audience worldwide, identify what type of music in a crossed way with breakdown with age or gender are the most appropriate group for which we have to push, for example, a specific music genre. Okay, so sorry for the eyes. There are a lot of information in these slides, but I think it's a very important slides. As in this one, we have an overview of all the key questions we should think about when we want to promote an artist, for example. That could be a new one, or when we want to reinforce the position of a well-established one. So there are 3 main important phases when building a promotion plan. The first one is starting point is how to build a fan base, and for that we need to know, for example, who is the audience and how we can engage with them. So the first starting point is that. So the second phase in a promotion of a new artist is the amplification phase. So there the goal is to know how to boost the attractiveness, to grow that fan base built previously, and how we can reinforce the emotional bonding with my fan base. And to do that, we have to know in what platform my current and potential audience is currently spending time, how we can target them concretely in the different platform, what type of collaboration we can set up with other artists, brands, events, and if we want to go to the next level, it's also important to know what are the different sub-segments that compose my overall audience, to have in that case a personalized plans for each group or cluster that compose my fan base. And after the third step is the final one is how we can convert in the best way my audience in a more transactional approach. We will not cover this point in this presentation, but there are different ways to achieve this goal by, for example, collecting first-party data, or by pushing some social commerce initiative, or even by starting to integrate your audience in initiatives in the metaverse, for example, or by highlighting some NFT project, for example. Okay, so now I just would like to show you some example into the platform. So we talked about our social intelligence platform and our digital intelligence platform. We talked about these different questions that we can cover when we have access to audience intelligence solutions. So I will show you an example based on Davido, so the artist Davido. So let me show you an example. Okay, so we are in the platform of Prism, which is a digital intelligence platform, okay? In this platform, we are analyzing all the... Let me remove that. In that platform, we are analyzing 216 million people that Meta qualified as being interested in Davido on the worldwide level. And we are comparing that audience of Davido lovers with the overall Meta population, the population active on Meta, so more than 2.5 billion active users. So the first insights that could be interesting, because we mentioned that to build a fan base, it's important to know who is the audience. So for Davido, the audience is already existing, but the example is that if you are an artist and you have to start from scratch, one of the most interesting approach to build a relevant understanding of your target audience is to analyze who are the people interested in a similar artist of you with the same music genre. So imagine we are an artist close in terms of music of Davido. He could understand in a deep way who is that audience. And that understanding could be, for example, about the geolocation, firstly. So, for example, we can observe in this case that we have an audience breakdown on the overall in different countries, and what are the countries where we have a strong over-indexing of interest in Davido. Based on that, it will give us some indication about where we have to focus more in terms of promotion, where we could create some initiatives, where we have to build some initiatives in order to create that relationship with that artist. So okay, so we have that country level, and for example, in this case, if we see the selectivity approach that showed the level of over-indexing of interest in that country for Davido, we can see that we have different countries where Davido have a very good penetration. We can also see for the biggest country, for example, United States is the biggest one. The second one is India, but India is because there are a lot of people living in India. In terms of selectivity, it's not selective. So when we are under 100, it represents an under-indexing. Even if we have a big absolute number, what it's important is to see that proportionally of the proportionally, we have in, for example, Nigeria, where I think he is born, and strongly over-indexing of community interested in Davido for that artist. And we can have this view for all the countries. So this is a first interesting insight. The second type of insight that could be super interesting is the socio-demographic breakdown of the audience interested in Davido. With the same logic, we are comparing the overall Davido audience in green versus the overall the overall worldwide population. And we can observe that in this case, this is quite similar, the breakdown between gender. But we can see that we have an over-indexing of some age range interested in Davido. We can see that also some language spoken are over-indexed in Davido. There are less parents than the average population. The average age range of the parents of the children of these parents. We can also have information about the relationship of that audience, and if that audience is more or less educated than the average population. So now we have covered the socio-demographic and geolocation insights that we can get by using digital intelligence solution. But what counts, as we have mentioned, is to get a cultural understanding of that audience, to know exactly how we can engage them and how we can activate them. So for that, we can enter in a more in-depth analysis of the audience, for example, by identifying with what type of topic around ecology the audience of Davido is more sensitive than the overall population. And we can observe that some topics are key for them. For example, if we want to understand their relationship with topics around culture, we can see that we have some possibilities of activation on, for example, initiative around street art, for example. About culinary, what are the type of food they are enjoying more? What type of sport, if they are sponsoring approach that could be done. Also about what is its openness about world, in this case, a strong relationship with Africa, for example, and with what type of other people and personality these people are also influenced. So we can observe that sport personalities are a group of people that could influence a lot that audience. So this is quite interesting to understand that this audience in a very broad way, and we have just covered some big categories to give you a flavor about what we can get in terms of understanding, but there are thousands of insights existing in the platform to know in a very deep way how is the audience, what are their driver of motivation, their passion point and hobbies and interests. Another point that I wanted to show you also is about how we could directly transform this data in order to target the most important group into the meta ecosystem. For example, the tool in this case highlighted that one of the most relevant group that composed that Davido audience is women aged from 18 to 33 with the lifestyle profile immersive tech enthusiasts. So you can start to identify different subgroup, and if you want to target this subgroup into meta, directly you have the ad criteria you can use and copy paste into your ad manager, for example, in order to reach specifically that subgroup. And you have thousands of sub-segments existing that you can analyze in a deep way. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to highlight to you. Quite interesting, this digital intelligence platform, because you have the ability to profile Instagram account followers if you have the credential of that account. You can profile video. So if you post a video on Instagram and you are the owner of that channel, you can understand who are the people who are watching your own video. You can also upload your first-party data and analyze what the people who are spending time on your website. If you are an artist, or if you have email address listing, you can also get the same type of granularity in insights by profiling first-party data. Another thing that I wanted to show you, this is the social intelligence platform. This is a very powerful platform where, in this case, we are analyzing the follow graph. So how the audience is connected between each other and with all the elements existing around the world, an audience that could be media, that could be brands, that could be personalities, that could be journalists, that could be any kind of people existing into a social ecosystem. We are analyzing the follow graph to firstly identify in the entire Davido audience. In this case, we are analyzing the followers of the Twitter account of Davido. What are the subgroups, the persona that exist, the different clusters that compose that overall audience, with also the ability to analyze and identify the main brands, for example. What are the main brands with who the audience of Davido is over-indexed, with a lot of possibility, with capability to rank in a specific way? What are the main, for example, influencers in terms of micro, macro influencers, for example? Okay, to have also all the personalities, to create collaboration, to create some events together, for example. So we can have also a strong view on this type of elements that are segmentation, how we can influence an audience based on the brands they are following, the influencers they are following, but also the affinity they have with media breakdown by type of media, TV, radio, online magazine, events. For music industry is quite key to see exactly where your audience is spending time around events and enjoying what type of events. So yes, this is a very short preview about what type of possibilities existing. Just a last highlight about also the ability to understand the personality of an audience linked to an artist or music genre, and to build content, build activation, build initiatives that fit perfectly with the mindset and the personality of your audience. Okay, so now let me jump again into my presentation to cover the last points. Okay. So the last point is audience insights and audience intelligence can also support the last pillar in building a promotion plan, that is improvement and measuring the impact of our action on time. So the goal is to check how the audience is evolving on time by using the same type of breakdown that we have used to detect new opportunities. So let me show you an example, for example. So in this case, the goal is to identify what is the evolution of a music genre, or it could be an artist in each country associated with a specific communities. And in that case, by following, for example, how is evolving the penetration of this community in each country for the music genre reggaeton, for example, we can observe how is evolving per country the penetration and the interest of that immersive tech lover for that music genre. So this is only a sample data in this case. This is not the real data for this last use case. The goal was only to open the perspective and open the mind about how audience intelligence can also follow and monitor how is evolving some trends, relationship between artists, music genre, with segment of the population on time. So I hope you have find this presentation useful and will give you more understanding about the possibilities existing by using the power of audience insights for the music professional.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jonathann. I think we'll probably have time for maybe one question. Let's see. So one question from Atiba, how do you see the artist's marketing plan evolving in the future, thinking about how they incorporate things like what you've shown?
So there are different approach in terms of analyzing, for example, the audiences. In the case of in the case of the AI, the process that we are using are based on the analysis of clusterization of the photograph of users for the tool we have in the social intelligence part. Regarding the digital intelligence part, the methodology we are using in order to clusterize the audience is more based on the cross analysis of sociodemographic dimension and lifestyle profile in order to identify what are the subgroup over index in my target audience versus in my benchmark audience. I'm not sure I am understanding to the question you have just asked me.
I think we covered most of that there. And I have one other question I think is important to get covered. Someone asks, does this cover everything in Meta? So like Instagram as well, or is it just Facebook?
So regarding the digital intelligence platform, this is data coming from the entire ecosystem of Meta, which is including Facebook and Instagram. But we know also that Messenger and WhatsApp are used by Meta in order to enrich their qualification of their different users. And when you are generating a profiling, you have the ability to split if you want to have a profiling only for an Instagram active audience or only for a Facebook active audience. So you have the ability to integrate both channels together and have a full understanding based on what Meta knows about these people and that are active on all channels, or you can only analyze by selecting the channel in which that audience is active. And when we were referring to the social intelligence platform with analysis of photograph, it's mainly based on the data coming from Twitter data.
Amazing. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for Audience. Thank you so much for the presentation, Jonathann. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.